This is GergoPrint 3D with the unboxing and initial review video of the ComGrow T300. Let me preface everything you'll hear and see in this video by the fact that this is a pre-production test version of the printer that I received. I was part of the last stage of the beta test for this printer. Production units can be substantially different from this early release, or they could be very similar. Hard to tell at this point. The T300 is apparently the smaller brother of the T500. It's the first 3D printer released after the Sovol ComGrow merger, but as far as I could tell, this was all developed and designed before the two companies became one. You will soon see the robust look, the advanced motion system, the extruder, and even the documentation all take after the ComGrow T500. Though I am told Sovol experts took part in the final stages of the product release. But let's not rush ahead. At this point, I could only tell at just over 20 kilograms, its box was heavier than either of the 300 by 300 millimeter Sovol printers I unboxed before. The package came protected by the usual laser cut foam. All the packaging and the user guide only have ComGrow branding on them. I was actually intrigued by the inclusion of the thumb drive and the eMMC adapter in the package. This must be a clipper printer. The spare nozzle caught my eye as well. It had different shape from any nozzle I had seen before. It seemed to have a simple mounting system that could make nozzle changes easier. But personally, I would prefer a more standard solution as well. This is clearly a high flow nozzle, but not compatible with the nozzles of the T500 or Sovol printers. I wish the company provided some adapter or converter for standard Volcano nozzles. Maybe they will in the future. We'll see. The pliers and the other tools were nothing special, just the usual stuff. The bolts and clamps came in bags labeled with steps, but turned out not to follow the order of steps in the user manual. Again, this could be fixed in the final edition of the manual, though I must say both of my Sovol printers had the screw bags mixed up exactly like this. No worries though, this will not make the assembly that much more difficult. The inclusion of such a robust leveling card though is both generous and puzzling at the same time. The printer comes with a decent amount of white PLA on a proper spool, which is a plus. The extruder, though already visible in the box, can only be taken out later, since it is attached to the whole X-axis module. So first, we will need to take out the 4-inch device screen, which will be mounted horizontally on the front of the printer. These two thick aluminum support profiles make up for the lack of the top gantry. They will stabilize the Z-axis columns onto the base. Beautiful pieces of metal. The spool holder comes assembled and apparently doesn't include any bearings. The filament path is straight though, and the extruder must be strong enough not to need them. So, here's the X-axis module, all assembled, including the extruder tool head with the drag chain mounting bracket and the filament runout sensor all attached to it. This is a very complex and sensitive component. The dust covering spring steel strip appears loose here in my case, because my tester unit arrived with a deformed and broken extruder carriage, which was immediately replaced by the company, but still a little scary at first. Since there is no top gantry, the two Z towers come separately in the box. The knob on the top turns the lead screw inside and moves the x-axis up and down. The foot of the z-axis columns connect to the base via 4 M5 bolts on each side, plus this massive aluminum support profiles in the back. Those things are not going to budge. The Z motors are also inside the towers. You can see their connections on the sides of the columns. Let me say, these slabs of metal appear very sturdy and impressive. Finally, we got to the base. It has the 300 by 300 millimeter print bed running on a single linear rail, pulled by a pretty sizable Y-axis motor. The belt and rail are covered by a similar spring steel strip as the other axes. I love these dust covers. You know me, because of my hate of dust, I had to design covers for my other printers. No need for any of those here. Curiously, the bed is made of plastic. This could be a controversial decision, as the thermal expansion of plastic is generally higher than metal, so we can expect more warping. Of course, on the other hand, it's lightweight, most probably contributing to the amazing acceleration capabilities of the printer. The plastic bed is fixed to the aluminum carriage, and unlike in the image of the box, there are no leveling wheels here. The side panel reveals an RJ45 wired network socket besides the 2 USB ports. The Wi-Fi antenna also resides behind this plastic cover. Every other part of the base would block wireless signals. Looking underneath the printer, I was surprised by all the empty space here. ComGrow could have included a huge tool drawer here. Missed opportunity, I guess they leave the fun to us modders. So the logic boards and electronics are all accessed from the bottom, which is not the most convenient in my opinion, and everything is covered by thick steel sheets, giving the whole printer an amazingly sturdy look and feel, like a tank. Besides the integrated MCU and clipper board, a surprisingly small 150 watt power supply is revealed. We don't need any bigger, since the bed is mains heated. This is the secret behind the 1-minute instant bed heat up. Sadly, there are only 4 motor drivers here, covered by these blue heat sinks, so no independent drivers for the 2 Z motors. This whole design surely saves on the number of cooling fans. No need to cool the small PSU. The MCU and clipper boards being integrated, the only cooling is this small blower that is aimed at the motor drivers. So this could be a nice, almost completely silent printer. Could, if ComGrow decides to replace the loud blower with a more quiet alternative in the production units. In our pre-release test units, I quickly followed 3D Print Demon's lead in adding a bigger, completely silent fan. I could only suffer the high-pitched whining sound of the original for a few days, no more. The printer is turned on right next to me, and I'm pretty sure you cannot hear any fan noise in the recording. The Clipper firmware is stored on this 8 GB eMMC card inside the control board. From the inclusion of the eMMC adapter in the package, we can assume ComGrow expects users to update their printer software by removing and plugging the eMMC card into a computer. Not the most convenient solution. I hope they work out some USB or ideally over-the-air update mechanism by release time of the printer. Let's take a peek inside the device screen too. We need to disassemble its plastic casing to access the internal microSD card, which is indeed necessary for software updates. Okay, after taking it all apart, it's time for a proper assembly. And don't be like me and read the user guide carefully before. Then you won't switch up the two Z-axis modules like I did. Out of the 4 possible orientations, only 1 is correct. And it took me 2 tries to get it right. It's easy though. Just make sure the Z-motor connections are on the outside and the X-axis mounts face towards the front of the printer. It was all my fault. It's extremely well explained in the booklet. Drive in the 4 M5 screws, but keep them loose until the X-axis is also attached. See, I'm now securing the X-axis module. Again, first adding the 8 screws, gradually tightening them before also tightening the base screws. The ribbon cable comes inside the drag chain already. You just need to secure one end of the drag chain to the base of the X-axis and the other to its mounting point on the extruder. All would have been easy if my extruder carriage did not arrive broken, but nothing a bit of super glue could not fix. A few days later, I received the replacement carriage from the company, so all worked out great by the end. In the last steps of the quick and easy assembly procedure, we attach the Z-axis support profiles. 2 longer screws connect the base, 2 shorter ones connect it to the Z-axis columns. Next, we connect the screen and slide it in place. Finally, remove the knob from the top of the left Z-tower, loosen the front 2 screws, slide in the filament holder facing towards the front of the printer, then tighten the screws and re-add the knob. I found no voltage selector on this printer, so no worries. We can just plug it in and turn it on. I tested the motors by homing the tool head. All worked right away. I also tested the heaters. They really are amazingly fast. Thanks to the AC heating, even the bed reaches printing temperature in just a minute. I found the stock leveling method lacking though, as it produced an incredibly tilted bed mesh with well over a millimeter of range between the highest and lowest points. I managed to bring it down to around half a millimeter by adding washers between the bed and its metal carriage and changing the Z-tilt method to my own leveling macro. I will talk more about these in a follow-up video, while I'm hoping ComGrow Sovo will improve this by production release. I've been using this printer for a month now, and I'm ready to share my thoughts with you. But before I do, I have a small favor to ask. Could you please take a moment to rate this video below? It would mean a lot to me. I have more videos coming up with the T300 where I'll show you how to set it up, tweak it, and mod it for better performance and convenience. I also plan to compare it to my other 2 300mm square clipper printers, each with a different motion system. You don't want to miss that, trust me. It's a fascinating contrast of speed, quality, and ease of use. So make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified. And now, let's list all the things I very much like about the ComGrow T300. First, the generous 300 by 300 by 350mm build volume. The super smooth, dust-covered linear rails along all 3 axes. Ultra-fast bed heating, ready to print in 1 minute. Ultralight bed, capable of extremely high acceleration for this helmet-sized printer. I think the simplified user interface on the responsive 4-inch device screen makes the T300 an ideal printer for beginners, while providing all the customizability and benefits of the underlying unlocked clipper system, with choice of mainsail or fluid user interface over a local network. On the T300, Clipper not only brings Wi-Fi and USB connectivity, but also a wired network connection. The strong, high gear ratio extruder includes all the bells and whistles one can wish for. with LED lights, sufficient part cooling, runout sensor, good nozzle accessibility and visibility, and even a drag chain for the ribbon cable. The double-sided textured PEI flex sheet is high enough quality in my opinion. It provided good bed adhesion for all my test prints. The last positive I will mention is the time-lapse capability out of the box, which makes it very easy for even beginners to record their prints. With all these advantages, there are still things to improve, hopefully before production release. First, the ultralight bed has its drawbacks. It is way too flexible. It was not easy to get the height map range below 0.6 millimeters. I very much hope this will be improved on production units. It is a chore to sync the single driver Z motors, and unfortunately this is not even likely to change, but I will soon publish my workaround. Fans, especially the motherboard cooler, was a bit too loud on my unit. Production units might be more silent, but also it's not hard to fix with a replacement bottom cover. Watch my channel for workarounds. The included Cura slicer profile is far from the best. I'm sure they keep tuning this by the time of production release. 3D printer Demon already has a pretty good Prusa slicer profile, and I made an Orca slicer preset based on his. I will publish these by the time production units are shipped. I listed the device screen's ease of use with the positives, but to tell the truth, it's a bit oversimplified for my taste. And there are actually a few important features which are even missing on my test unit, such as an emergency stop or a proper shutdown button, and macros are currently only accessible remotely from the mainsail or fluid interface. I would love to see a macro screen added to the device display as well. Again, all these can and hopefully will be improved with software updates. By the way, hopefully said software update will already ship with the production units, since the current update process is extremely cumbersome. And one last small issue. Input Shaper comes pre-tuned and enabled, but there is no accelerometer or even external ADXL connection on this device. There is an internal ADXL port which was extended to the outside on my unit, but it's visibly a temporary solution. It would be nice to offer easier Input Shaper calibration for intermediate level users like I am. The ComGrow T300 is not just a 3D printer, it's a masterpiece of industrial design. It has a sleek and elegant appearance that would fit even in a modern living room. But don't let its sturdy looks fool you. This printer is also a powerhouse of performance. It can print at speeds up to 350 millimeters thanks to the Clipper firmware that runs on an integrated controller board inside. It also has linear rails on all three axes for smooth and precise movements. This is big. And the best part is it's easy to use and beginner friendly in my opinion, while still offering full customization options for those who want to tweak and optimize their prints. The ComGrow T300 has some minor issues as we've seen, but they are nothing that can be fixed before official release. In my opinion, the benefits of this printer far outweigh any current misses. It's a 3D printer that can grow with you, and I can highly recommend it. With the ComGrow T300 or your current 3D printer, now go print 3D.